Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we've got a nice update about Crown Zenith and VSTAR Universe. I'll be honest with you, that the Crown Zenith bit is fairly small, but it is important, and we got some nice information about VSTAR Universe as well, which honestly should make us all jealous. So in terms of Crown Zenith then, what we've got is the European versions of the tins. And I will say, it is way easier to put all three of these on screen at the same time, being portrait, than it is putting all three of the other ones being landscape on the screen at the same time. Maybe for most of you, that's not a big concern. For me, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you that it absolutely is. Now, we're going to get one less pack. It's rubbish. Nobody likes this. This is the way it is. We are going to be getting, I'm fairly sure these have 4 packs in, whereas generally they have 5 in the US. Feel free to be upset about that if you really want to be. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. We get them portrait rather than landscape, and we get 1 fewer pack. We also don't get to see the text of the card, which doesn't matter. We know it's a reprint of the ones from Chilling Reign, and we've got the other tins where we can see them, but that's not really the point, ladies and gentlemen. It makes me a little bit sad. I don't have a huge amount to add here, but just kind of nice that we finally had a little bit of a look at these. And I would say nice to know the European versions are coming, but actually the European versions are worse and have fewer packs in, so I don't know exactly if it is nice to know, honestly. Hey-ho. You know what is objectively nice? And by objectively, I definitely mean subjectively. This reprint of Lost Vacuum. Now, I warned you the other day that a Melakart was probably not done. Now, for those of you that may have forgotten or missed the previous video, I'll try not to be too disappointed. What we've got here is a Melakart who is a very nice artist who is making their debut in VSTAR Universe. Now, they're actually doing the Bibarel artwork, which I've gone on record as saying is the best artwork we've seen in the set so far. And incidentally, nothing has swayed my opinion on this. It's just absolutely stunning. But Melakart has also gone and done a couple of these reprint trainer cards, that being Ultra Ball, Trekking Shoes, and Rescue Carrier, all of which are just straight reprints, but they are coming out with this lovely artwork by a Melakart. And for those of you that remember way back at the end of the Sword and Shield era, no, this is the end of the Sword and Shield era, the end of the Sun and Moon era, seriously, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, I say the wrong one sometimes, it gets super duper duper confusing. But my point is, back then, we had, in the final set, we had another artist doing these interesting looks at trainers with new artwork. It was Uyama, and they did a bunch. They did 7, if I remember correctly. So when we saw these 3 from a Melakart, I said, well, that's very lovely, but I think we're going to get more than 3, and we've now seen Lost Vacuum. I would still expect there to be a couple more coming. I don't know is the honest answer. Obviously, I don't have any insider information or anything silly like that. But I do think it's probably fair to assume that there are going to be more coming. And that's kind of awesome, honestly. I like this artwork. Now, for me personally, I really, 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 really hope they've done a couple more of the art rares. Because I honestly do just think that Bibarel's amazing. So it would be lovely for me on a personal level if they could have done some more so that I can appreciate the lovely artwork. And I'm not saying that these trainer cards aren't good. These trainer cards are lovely. But that's not really the point now, is it, ladies and gentlemen? That's not really the point. I just love the Bibarel so much. I want to see this artist do a few more of them because I think they're absolutely stunning. But there's more to it than that. Because you may notice that Lost Vacuum, we're not talking about some random item card here. We're not talking about some card that sees a little bit of play here and there. We're talking about a card which has become an absolute staple. Now, Lost Vacuum is actually great for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, it can take a Pokemon tool or a stadium card and put it into the lost zone. So if your opponent is really relying on a tool or a stadium, not only do you get it off the field, which is good, but you get it into the lost zone, and things don't come back from the lost zone. They're gone, ladies and gentlemen. They gone. Okay, lovely. But here's the thing. We also have a bunch of cards that get progressively better the more cards you have in your lost zone. So we've got things like Cramorant that can attack for 0 energy, as long as you've got 4 cards in the lost zone. We've got Mirage Gate, which lets you attach 2 energy from the deck on an item card, as long as you've got 7 cards in the lost zone. And then we've got Sableye that allows you to drop 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon for a single energy, just so long as you've got 10 cards in the lost zone. So Lost Vacuum also lets you get more cards in the lost zone, and one of my favourite tricks, one that I've been doing an absolute bunch and is making me very happy, is putting down a stadium like... Pokestop's one that's it's good for this. Put down Pokestop, especially when your opponent's drawing completely dead. They go, oh, at least I can use that next turn. Yay, that's good. You use it, and then you immediately lost zone it. So you get to use a stadium. They don't get to use a stadium. And because you're lost zoning your own stadium, it's actually 2 cards that go in the lost zone rather than 1. I haven't actually said it yet, but in order to use Lost Vacuum, you must put a card from your hand into the lost zone. So using Lost Vacuum to get rid of one of your own tools and stadiums, which you are absolutely allowed to do, is a way to get 2 cards into the lost zone straight away. And that's lovely. One of the other cards that we've seen be really, really good with the Lost Zone is Comfey. Hey, look! That lovely T0 artwork of Comfey is finding its way into VSTAR Universe. And this should seem kind of familiar to you guys. It should look very familiar. And the reason it should look very familiar, it is the pre-release promo artwork, just without the stamp. And we've seen this, we've actually seen a couple of these already be confirmed. So the Galarian Birds, we've already had it confirmed that they are going to be in VSTAR Universe. We've seen that one. Lipard is another one that we've seen, these being pre-release promos without the stamp that are finding their way into Japanese sets. And as a side note, I love this, because it's still available with the stamp if you really want the stamp, and I am a sucker for a good stamp. But just having these cards and having the opportunity to have them unstamped and having them coming out in Japan is just absolutely lovely. But you'll notice here that we got a reprint of Lost Vacuum with lovely new artwork. We've got a reprint of Comfey, which is the pre-release promo artwork, but without the stamp. And they've also gone and confirmed just a straight reprint of Colress's Experiment. No new artwork. It's not a pre-release promo. It's just standard, ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill Colress's Experiment as a reprint. The only difference is in the bottom left-hand corner, it's got a new set symbol, which is completely irrelevant. Remember, set symbols don't really matter anymore. What matters is your regulation mark, and this is regulation mark F in the same way that Colress's Experiment from Lost Origin is regulation mark F. But what this is doing is basically showing us some more of the cards which are being reprinted in VSTAR Universe. One of the big differences between Japan's VSTAR Universe and our Crown Zenith is that whereas we're getting a bit of a mop-up set getting cards that have been released in Japan but not over here, and when I say mop-up set, I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. I love the fact that we're getting these previously unreleased cards. It's just a way to explain what the set is. Whereas over in Japan, they are getting a very different kind of set. What they're getting is a set which is reprinting a whole bunch of cards that are going to be really, really useful. So if you're playing in Japan, you're going to be opening up packs of VSTAR Universe and just casually getting yourself a Comfey with new artwork to boot. Didn't buy enough Lost Abyss, that was a Japanese set. Don't worry your pretty little head about it, because we're getting that in this set as well. It's going to be okay. But don't forget as well, we've also had other ridiculous cards that have been confirmed to be reprinted. Genesect V, that's pretty good. That's already been confirmed for a reprint, which is kind of ridiculous. A Giratina, that's one of the top decks around at the moment. That's getting a reprint. Don't forget about Hisuian Zoroark VSTAR, which is actually getting a reprint with different artwork. The Manaphy that protects your bench, that's pretty good. Radiant Greninja. And oh yeah, while we're talking Radiant Pokemon, there was another one that was gone and confirmed in the past couple of days, and that is that Radiant Gardevoir is coming back and being reprinted in this particular set as well. And since we've also had it confirmed that Charizard is in the set with alternate artwork, that's the top three. The three most played Radiant Pokemon are all getting reprinted in this set. Charizard with new artwork, Radiant Greninja and Radiant Gardevoir just being straight reprints. But my point here is, imagine being a player in Japan and seeing like the best Radiant Pokemon, as well as most of the attackers from the top decks, as well as a bunch of really great support Pokemon and the Lost Zone engine and everything else being reprinted in this set that you're probably mostly buying to try and get the amazing artworks. Yeah. V-Star Universe over in Japan. I would call it an amazing set, but I just don't feel like that even does it justice. Hey-ho. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know all of your opinions. I want to know how jealous you are of how good V-Star Universe is going to be. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel. You can get some bonus podcasts for answering all of your questions. You can join a Discord and chat with us about various things. And you can get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Kanto Royalty, who's been a supporter of ours for about a year now and does seem to be a very lovely person. So thank you very much for all the support, and thank you for being a thoroughly lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.